Welcome to STEM Strategies. I really am excited about this presentation. This is a very important topic because as a STEM specialty organization, these are competitive areas of study. These are tough fields to get admitted into, and there's a lot of strategy, a lot of deliberate decisions that need to be made early on. So my name is Dale Price. I'm the founder and owner of Access College America. We're a five-star college planning agency based in Austin, but we work with scholars all over the country. We really have a pretty big footprint here in Austin, but we specialize in applications to majors such as computer science, engineering, pre-professional programs, pre-med, business is a STEM major, and I could go on and on and on. We're glad to have you. Use the Q&A box if you're watching this. Ask us questions. I have a whole list of questions, my goodness, a whole list of questions that you guys have been asking us, and I'll definitely be sure to answer that. I'm going to allow two of my awesome co-presenters, they're ninjas, to also introduce themselves. I'll let Anne introduce herself, and then I'll let John introduce himself.
Awesome. Thanks, Dale. I'm Anne Cinelli. I've been with Access College America for a little while now, working through the application season. This last time was super fun. And STEM majors are so popular. I am a school counselor of, I can't even, I hate saying it, been a school counselor for 12 years now. And I love helping students. I'm a bit more on the administrative side now. And so working with Access College America really gives me that, working with students, working with families, helping them meet their goals, which is something that I've always been passionate about. I have helped, and Dale says it every time, so I'm going to, help him out here. I have helped thousands and thousands of students with getting into college. And that's just that nature of large high schools. And so I have really enjoyed this experience and learning and growing. And I'm excited to answer some of these questions and dive into STEM because I love it.
And you had your finger on the pulse with over 200 applications for Access College America alone this past season. That's amazing, by the way. So you obviously are incredible. And then John is going to go ahead and introduce himself.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me. My name is John. I'm one of the college consultant directors with Access College America. A lot of the function and my role here is, of course, being a part of these wonderful presentations to present this information to you. But I also, if you're in the Austin area, you might see me out and about in the community as well. I do give in-person presentations as well. And additionally, what I'm probably most excited about is just getting to work with my scholars one-on-one, helping them create that custom curriculum. And of course, aptly enough, most of them are applying to STEM-based majors because that is what we specialize in. And so I really enjoy getting to help them through that process because I think it's probably one of the most rewarding things that I've had the opportunity to do. So thanks for having me this evening.
Awesome. Great. Well, we are really excited to have everybody. I've already launched the very first poll as well. Have you started researching colleges and universities? So make sure that you respond to this because I'm always curious to hear, how is everything going? Have you started researching colleges and universities? And really, what is it that you need help with? The agenda for today, I'm going to go over some of the more common misconceptions that folks have about STEM majors. I'll talk about that math class. I'll talk about the science subjects as well. We'll go into extracurricular planning, the rigor of your courses, the importance of class rank. It is important for the super selectives and final tips and so forth. But I do want to just give everybody a general status, an update in college admissions. What exactly is it that we're seeing right now? Well, there's no surprise here that college, especially the more popular brand name schools, are only getting more selective. They're getting harder to get admitted into. But not only that, if you're a STEM focused student, you're in your own league and it's going to be much more competitive. STEM majors are often the most impacted majors at colleges and the universities. They often receive more applications than any other major, especially business. If you want to go into business, I'm looking at you. Hey, and for those of you that are with us today, give us a shout out on the chat line. Let us know what is the major you're interested in attending too. We'd love to know, what are you interested in studying? So we see here that the more selective colleges are only getting more selective. And these days, to get into a competitive university, you got to have great stats. You know, it is a table stake to have a good GPA, a competitive class rank, and a good solid test score. Notice that I mentioned the test score. It is very important at some of the more selective schools. We are finding a lot of colleges are test biased. While they may be test optional, they may not require test scores. They want to see them. You've got to be able to demonstrate that you are fully competitive and competent in some of these classes. So we know that it's very important. And a pro tip, while AP tests are not required to demonstrate at colleges and universities, except for Georgetown, you can really back up with evidence that you are capable and doing well, not just in your STEM studies, all classes, but you can really back up with evidence if you're hitting fives on those STEM subjects, submitting those to colleges during your application process. So we want to really reiterate, having a balanced college list is really going to be the key here. How do you bend the odds in your favor? Well, we'll talk more about that, but don't get anxious about this process. Creating a balanced college list and getting excited about all of the schools you're going to apply to, the safety schools and the targets can definitely be your saving grace. But the reason why applications are up at some of the more competitive schools is due to technology, social pressure to get into specific brand name schools. Parents are crowdsourcing their way through this and having their kids apply to colleges they hear are easy to get into or are good schools to get admitted into. Colleges are now test optional, so students feel that, hey, I don't have to submit a test score, so I can apply. I've got straight A's. I might have a competitive shot. So there's a lot of misconceptions out there. And so we definitely want to set the record straight with some of those this evening. Why are STEM majors so competitive? And for those of you with us, use the Q&A box. We'll be answering questions here in just a moment. But what is going on here? Well, STEM majors, the reason why they are so selective, it's because they have the highest dropout rate in college. You know, these are really hard classes. As a matter of fact, if you're wanting to study engineering at a place like the University of Texas, you probably need to bet on at least 5 years to get through that engineering program. Classes are hard. They're very, very competitive. They're very, there's a lot of prerequisites to take them. And, it's going to require a lot more hands-on intensives. Also, these types of majors, computer science, nursing, engineering, business, the screening process is often much different than the screening process for majors that are good, but majors that are in humanities or communications. Oftentimes, your application for a STEM major is going to start, get this, day one of your first year of high school. So, folks, if you're a freshman that is watching this presentation right now, your college admission application has started. Your grades, your courses, how you spend your summers, what types of internships, clubs, and organizations, all of this is fair game in the high stakes world of college admissions. You can use all of this as part of your story. So keep that in mind, especially when you're looking at acceptances and things of that nature. Realize that the acceptance rate for a STEM major is going to be different than the acceptance rate at a university more broad. What I mean by that, you may go online, for example, and Google the acceptance rate for the University of Texas and see the overall acceptance rate is 28%. But that's actually quite misleading. because 75% of the students admitted into the University of Texas had a 100% chance at getting into that school. But you better believe getting into the Macomb School of Business or the Cockrell School of Engineering, no one has a 28% chance at getting admitted into these two top colleges. So acceptance rates are going to be much more competitive. I do want to ask this question, and I'll kick this over to John, and because the next topic that we're going to be discussing is actually on activity building. And so this is a really good question for John to answer. And John, what types of activities are good for STEM students? I've got a student here, looks like he's a junior, and he's interested in getting into engineering. So how do you even start something like that? What is a good major? And by the way, it looks like we got a great feedback. 70% of you guys today have actually already started the college research process. So great job.
I think specifically for, if we're thinking engineering, but STEM overall, it really does, and like Dale mentioned, it's extremely important that you focus on fit to major types of activities. And so some of the things that I've seen some of my scholars do that are interested in engineering are doing things like such as hands-on camps. There's plenty of those that are available in the Texas area. UTSA has some great ones. I know that UT Austin also has some research opportunities. There's actually some opportunities through NASA as well, for those of you that are interested in aerospace. There's so many different specific things that you could do. So when we think about the types of activities, it's really important that if you're not able to secure something that's hands-on, that you're doing a research project. For those of you interested in business, I know Kelly School of Business does a summer program, Macombs does as well. Anybody interested in computer science, hackathons are great over the summer. Programming camps, boot camps, code academies, all of these things are extremely relevant and efficient ways to use your time over the summer to develop that fit to major. And
excellent. And then, Anne, did you want to add to that as well?
Yeah, I think that John listed some amazing things. And inside a lot of high schools, especially in Texas, there are some really great opportunities for students to get involved within robotics and robotics competitions. And even going into, TSA and some of the DECA organizations. Now, I know that's a lot of acronyms. TSA is the Technology Student Association in the state of Texas, and it does a lot of competitions amongst other high schools. Think of it as like your technology sports team for high school students. So that is really cool. DECA is for business. So that is kind of the same thing as TSA. Think of it as a competition where you research projects, you present at different levels. Those are two very primary organizations that are already in a lot of high schools. And I know even in and outside of Texas, robotics is huge. And so if those are things that you're interested in, get involved at your school.
Definitely, totally. And I think that's so important. Well, one thing I want to kind of break down when we start talking about activity building, this is a really important topic. One of the things that we really specialize in is assisting with activity building. So let's talk about this a little bit more. Let's say, for example, you're interested in getting into computer science. Like this is what you want to study in college, which is pretty typical for our agency. Well, what area of computer science do you want to go into? Think about it. There's like 4 or 5 different areas of computer science. You can go into AI, you can go into cybersecurity, you can go into firmware, software. There's a lot of different areas that you can go into. And then let's get a little bit more granular on this. And what I mean by that is, well, if you want to go into AI, this is an area of research that you really want to specialize in, then start demonstrating now through activities that this is sincerely what you want to go into. Start exploring machine learning, learn algorithms and frameworks like TensorFlow or PyTorch, or maybe AI isn't your thing, but cybersecurity is. So start developing maybe simple encryption algorithms on the side, or go create experiments on systems to test and look at their vulnerabilities. What I mean by this is there's a lot of opportunity that you can be surrounded around that is absolutely free, that you can start participating in. You know, if you want to get into software engineering, or then go participate or contribute on open sourced projects like a GitHub account and work on that documentation, fix bugs, learn how to collaborate with other people. By the way, the three examples that I just gave you, the three activity examples for AI, cybersecurity, and software engineering, these examples can be used in your essays. When universities are asking why you want to go into your major, you want to make sure that you're referencing and highlighting your strengths, you're telling your story, but you're really able to demonstrate what's called your intellectual curiosities through your accomplishments. So think about this again for a second. If you want to go, for example, if you want to get into business, well, that's a very broad field to get into. All right. So does that mean that you want to get into marketing or finance or, supply chain management? How are you taking advantage of those opportunities right now? If you want to go into business, then students, start participating in industry conferences or seminars. Especially for those of you in Austin, there's a lot of econ HQs here. This is a major economic hub. There's a lot of nonprofit organizations here that you can start participating in and get exposure to C-level conversations. Join a local chamber of commerce. Start going to those networking events and learning about different professions. How about this? Go do research on a process and make it become more efficient. So those are types of activities that you can do if you're interested in getting into business. Notice I didn't say you need to go pay anybody or anything to do something. College admission officers are looking at, what are you really sincere about doing? How do we know what you're going to do in your spare time? You don't have to make or go purchase anything to really impress them. Now, one thing that Anne mentioned that I want to remind you guys about is taking advantage of the opportunities that are provided to you through your high school. So if you want to go into medicine, yes, you should be joining HOSA. Yes, you should be participating in student council. Why? Well, people that are involved in the medical careers, those involved in the health sciences, they're natural born leaders. They're leaders in their community. What better way can you demonstrate your leadership and the kind of person, the kind of student you're going to be at this college or in this pre-med program than being part of that leadership body at your high school through student council. Student council is not only for those that want to go into, government or political science and things of that nature. So lots of really cool opportunities to participate in. And you want to jump on and add something to that too?
I love that you just kind of brought that up, because there's another thing that I'm seeing high school kids kind of drift away from. And I think it's still so important. A lot of the top colleges and universities, your Georgia Techs of the engineering world, and Purdue, and kind of these high, UC Berkeley's, these higher echelon schools in the STEM field are really looking for STEM becoming STEAM in high school. And I know when I'm like, you're like, you just threw another acronym at you. STEAM is STEM with an A, and the A is for arts. And what that arts kind of adds to a student's application shows that creative element, which creativity shows innovation, which is something that a lot of STEM programs are looking for, because, yes, they need people to work on the technology that they already have, but to invent new technology adds that element of creativity. And having some background in arts, whether it be band or sculpture, painting, drawing, or theater, having that kind of expressive side kind of beam through in your application is something that's super important. And I know people are like, oh, I have to do STEM and art, only if it's a passion. I hate when students kind of go into one narrow mind with STEM. Really kind of broaden out, and that's okay, because the arts is so important, especially for those higher echelon, higher echelon schools. John, what are you kind of seeing in this STEM environment?
So help, oh, 1 second, Ann, come back real quick. So clarify your question for me real quick.
I said, what are you kind of seeing in this STEM environment for students kind of participating and being involved in their schools to show that they're really interested in STEM?
Oh yeah, okay. I always talk about this, and I think it's important because I like mentioning this to everyone, because this is the one thing that I see across the board with the students I work with that are the most successful when applying to the more competitive programs. Control for the fact that obviously you need really good grades, and you want to do well on your SATs or ACTs, but the students that are self-starters, that are doing things that make an impact in their local community or maybe even outside of their community, are the things that are going to really set you apart. And the common question I get then is, well, how does the flag competitions with cybersecurity over the online competitions with international people from all over the world? And this is something that he started on his own with people that he met online. So being a self-starter is one of the things that I believe helps people stand out in very, very unique ways.
Awesome. These are all really good examples. And Zarin, we just answered your question. Zarin is a student right now, a junior, that wanted to know how to express interest in STEM through your activities. So I was able to get that answered. I want to answer this other question that's coming through here. This is actually from Avery, and Avery is also a junior. We got a lot of juniors here tonight, and this is going to kind of be a segue into the next topic that we'll be discussing, which is going to be a little bit of academic planning. And I think that academic planning, it's pretty important here. But Avery wanted to know, are there specific classes that we suggest to really, help out with this process? What are the types of classes that we recommend? Well, first of all, it's important that you take in high school your core classes, which sounds like a big duh, but you would be so surprised how many students drop core classes and replace them with electives at the same time. Folks, if you're applying to a STEM major, the 5 most important classes you can take: English, math, science, social studies, and a foreign language. You should be taking your core classes all high school years. Doesn't matter if you have enough units to graduate. I get it. You took a foreign language your 8th grade year, you took a foreign language your freshman year, and you feel as if you have gone above and beyond by taking that foreign language your sophomore year. But keep in mind, when you're applying to competitive majors and competitive universities, you're not just trying to do enough to meet the minimum requirements, right? You're trying to be competitive. So your core subjects are so important: English, math, science, social studies, and a foreign language. So the academic planning and the sequencing of your classes is also going to be important. John wrote actually a very good blog about the sequencing of your classes, and I'll show you where to read that on our website. Under the resources tab right here on our website, if you scroll down, if you click on blog post, I really do recommend that you read this blog. If you just do a search on academic sequencing, it's actually one of the most viewed blogs that we have. And we go into how to really map out those classes for high school. So this is a really important topic, because what you want to do is make sure that you are getting to the most advanced math class in your high school. If you have a school that's going to be selective, such as the University of Texas, MIT, anything in the California system. So if your school offers multivariable calculus, or let's say that you're interested in getting into engineering and they offer physics C, the sequencing of your math classes will be important because to get to physics C, there may be a calculus readiness requirement or a prereq. So you want to start with your senior year classes. What are the classes that I want to end up at to make sure that I'm in a very competitive position? And then you want to work backwards and make sure that the sequencing is going to line up, which may require some summer school. For example, if you want to get into business school and your high school offers macro and micro econ, a full year of econ can really impress an admissions officer, but it may require you to play a little bit of Tetris by taking government over the summer as a rising senior and then doing macro econ in the fall, micro econ in the spring of your senior year to really demonstrate that. So, Avery, I'm glad that you asked this question because you want to make sure that you understand the most important part of your entire college application is going to be your transcripts. Those transcripts are going to tell a story, and you need to be able to show that you're proficient and excellent not only in your STEM studies, but all of the other ones as well. The next question is going to be from Mandy, and Mandy is actually a parent of a junior. And I'm going to kick this question over to John. He's going to be excellent for this type of question. And this is actually going to be pulling us into the role of testing in college admissions. But Mandy is a parent of a junior and is wanting to know, John, which test is better? Should I take the SAT or should I take the ACT? And this is a good time to talk about the role of test. And if you can, maybe show them the common data set. I mean, how do you know what is a good test score at a university? So I'm going to let you open up that can of worms.
All right. Well, the answer to the question is pretty straightforward, and at least the first part before you jump into the can of worms. But, which test is better? Either one is accepted pretty much anywhere that you're going to apply to. And which one is better is really a question of how your student performs on those tests. And so that's really one of the major things that we first do when we start working with a scholar is identifying, of course, after we do some academic planning and sequencing and starting to build a college list, one of the first things that we try to figure out is which test is going to be the best fit for your scholar. And that involves taking practice tests. And then once you've identified which test is the best fit, then you can start to think about what a goal score looks like. And the role of those tests, we go into more detail in this in our college planning webinar and presentations, which we'll actually be giving here, I believe, Dale, if you don't have to pull it up now, but if we pull that schedule up, I believe we might touch base on this actually this Saturday at our College and Coffee presentation. If you are in the area, please come out and attend that because we're definitely talking about this. But on that note, the role of that test is it is one piece of the puzzle, right? Because the whole process is a holistic process, but it is one piece, and it can be an important piece. A good score is always an important factor. So getting back to how to identify a goal score, it's going to depend on what your list looks like. And for most of our scholars, UT Austin is that kind of top school on their list. And so we really use that as a benchmark to identify a goal score. Now, that might not be your top school. It's just kind of a quick example to pull from. So the resource that Dale referenced is the common data set. And so the common data set hosts a wide range of information, publicly, I should say publicly available information about colleges from all different departments across the university. One of those areas that schools will release information on happens to be admissions information. And so if we, and I can't use UT Austin because they stopped reporting this information. So let's see if we did like Texas State. All right, I'll just use this as an example. So I'll walk you through kind of how this works. Dale, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here if that's all right. Let's see. Sorry about that. I don't know if it pulled up the right one. I think we should be good. So from the, everything good here, Dale? Are we on Google?
Yep, you're there.
Awesome. All right, everyone. So from here, the first thing I did was just common data set, and I'll just, type in Texas State, just a school to get you warmed up with. Now, most schools will have their 22, 23 common data set information available. And then from there, what we're going to be looking for is actually section C. That is where our admissions information. When we're looking at these schools, we're jumping straight to section C9. That's where we're going. And at a school like this, at SAT composite, your 75th percentile is an 1170. All right. So if this, for instance, if this were your top school, that would be, maybe your goal score. But for a UT, like a UT Austin, and the reason I didn't pull up UT Austin is, again, just because they haven't released their previous data yet. But for instance, at a school like that, you're looking at about a 1480 75th percentile. And when you're thinking about STEM-based majors, you're probably wanting to shoot. This is not based on any knowledge, previous knowledge. This is just from what we know from colleagues we talk to and things that we hear. Our 1500 or higher is what we end up setting our goal scores as, especially for the STEM-based majors at a school like UT Austin. So when you want to find out what your score range is for the SAT or an ACT, we always go back to the common data set as kind of our first and most trusted source for that information. And Dale, feel free to jump in and kind of take it away from there.
Yeah, there's a really great a repository that we have access to where you can literally look up, and this is all public information, by the way, but you can type in pretty much any school and then find the common data sets. And the section for any common data set is going to be section C9. Section C9. This is the file we're looking at. So for the university, oh shoot, and you know what? A lot of schools are doing this now. They're blocking this off. Well, before, and this is really this is not cool that colleges and universities are not really being transparent about competitive scores. But what we can find is looking at past data. We know that to be a competitive test score for the University of Texas, you definitely want to be the 1480 range for the 75th percentile, or have around a 32, 33 ACT. I would say you want to be north of that for a STEM major, because of 1480 being in the 75th percentile for the University of Texas, that's reflective across all majors and all colleges. Let's look at our friends down the street, Texas A&M. Again, you can find this by Googling the name of the university and then common data sets. And look at these Aggies. They're actually being a little bit friendlier than UT with their disclosure. So right here, we can see that competitive test score would be 1380 or even a 31 for a test score. So when if you had Texas A&M on your list and you wanted to really get an idea of what is it that's going to be competitive for that school, looking at the common data set section C9, this is public information that a university will release, and hopefully they're transparent. The University of Texas was up until just a few months ago. And that's a really good baseline. But like John said, take the test that's right for you. There are some key differences in these tests. What I mean by that is about 80% of the information is going to overlap. But the ACT is a different kind of test than the SAT is. The ACT is a STEM test. So it's going to have much more advanced math. There's also a science section on there. Now, the science is not, necessarily questions about science topic. It's more focused on reasoning. But, this could really play to your strength, because the SAT is going to focus more on that junior level English reading, writing, vocabulary. And for a lot of STEM students, that is not their cup of tea. So get a baseline, take a practice test of each, find out which of these exams is really going to be best fit for you, and then sit for that. Now, the average student is going to take this test 3 times. We do not recommend taking each test every time it's offered. So you want to set a goal. What's a good score for you? Well, first of all, which is the right test for you, the SAT or the ACT, based off correlating the two scores together, the practice test, and looking at, if you just did this today, as a matter of fact, if you were hitting a 1250 on the SAT, it's a 26 on the ACT. If you take an ACT practice and you hit like a 28, well, we know that the ACT is the right test model for you. And then you want to look at the colleges you're applying to and figure out what is competitive at those colleges and those universities, and then go from there. It looks like Anna's jumping on. Testing is a big part of the application process. You really want to make sure that your plan makes sense.
Definitely. And with SAT going digital, with PSAT just kicking off last month, and so many juniors and sophomores going in and taking that test, I noticed, prior to that a lot of students were so nervous about this SAT change, this digital, what's going to happen? Should I rush and take a paper test? And what I really found was most students were like, I actually didn't mind the digital test because they're taking digital assessments from so many other places in their high school experience. And I also don't think that it's a good idea to rush to a virtual test, to a paper test, just because you want to avoid the virtual. Even as a sophomore, you don't want to be taking your SAT and having that be the score that goes to colleges. You really should be taking that test junior year. I really love that March SAT that high schools are offering. I think that's a fantastic opportunity to take the exam. And there's a couple before that March time and a couple after that are really fantastic. But I definitely agree with Dale's kind of 3 times. That's about it. Because you do take the PSAT in high school and all of that. But the digital scare, don't be afraid of it.
Yeah, definitely. We have another question, but we're going to close the poll, and it looks like there is, you guys, the poll asks, what do you need help with the most? And no surprise here, it's not test prep, it's not choosing a major, it's not building a college list, it's the essays. The essays are the hardest part of the entire application review process. And so to answer the question that Francisco is just asked, and Francisco is a parent of a junior, what is the most challenging part of the entire process? It's the writing. Everything else has been fun up until now. Clubs, organizations, summer camps, touring colleges and universities. Now it's time to focus on the writing. And if you don't have examples of that fit to a major, you don't have evidence of your intellectual curiosity, you don't know why you're applying to Purdue, you just are applying to Purdue because you heard it's a good STEM school, this part can be really hard. So let's talk about the essays. You actually have 4 pieces of writing to work on. Everybody focuses on the main essay. That's what everybody freaks out over. But there's so much other writing that you need to work on. That main essay, though, is something that every single college and university is going to see. It's the missing link in your application. It's around 650 words of top tier real estate. Don't waste it. The intention of that main essay is to provide insight into who you are as a human, providing the admissions officer something about you they cannot find anywhere else. The second piece of your writing is just as important as that main essay. Every single university is going to see this piece of writing. It's the common application activity list. This is not as popular as the main essay is, and it doesn't have as much press as the main essay does, but it is so important because this is where you will list up to 10 things that you've done in high school. And you don't have to list 10 things, but up to 10 things. But now I'm going to tell you the way that you rank and order those activities are so important. The way that you write your descriptions, very important. On our website, we have a blog about this very topic on the activity list, and we actually show you how to map out or how to rank your activities. We created a point value system here, and you can assign points next to everything, how much time you devoted to those activities, what is the reach of those universities, how big of a leadership activity is this, and that will give you an objective metric for understanding which of these activities should go first. And we'll put the link in the chat box so everybody can click on that. You all know the resume. Everyone's heard of a resume. But fun fact, the resume is not required for your application. In fact, if you do submit that, many admissions officers aren't even going to read it. They just don't have time to read anything extra. That activity list is in a template that the admissions officer's eyes is trained to read. So it is the replacement for your resume. It's a digital resume. You want to take it seriously. The third piece of writing you have are short answer questions. And it's so important that you layer your short answer questions with new information about you that attaches you to your first choice major. So you don't want to hammer home anything where you pick one or two things and talk about it in your main essay, talk about it in your activity list, talk about it in your short answer questions. Your recommender is talking about it. You want to make sure that you are creating new themes and dimensions about you everywhere the admissions officer looks. And I think that went to host and panelists. So you'll want to make sure that you send it to everyone, please. Those short answer questions, it's different than the main essay. That main essay is around 650 words. Every university is going to read it. The short answer questions will be around 150 to 250 words, and they're specific to the colleges and the universities. Your approach is one of research. And I'm going to ask Anne to talk a little bit about this here in just a second. The fourth piece of writing, I think you guys are getting the hint. There's more than the main essay you have to work on. The fourth piece of writing you have is really for the University of Texas, Hook 'em. It's the expanded resume. The expanded resume is really a catalog of everything cool that you've done in high school, starting with day one of your freshman year. Can typically be between 3 to 5 pages, but you want to rank and order that expanded resume in a very specific format. Now, Anne, let's say that I'm interested in applying to Purdue. I heard Purdue's a really good place, which, by the way, go Boilers. We have an alumni here. I should have called on John now that I'm thinking about it. But Anne, I'll let you talk about it, and I'm positive I'll give John another question. But you just got back from touring also Purdue. And let's say, I've got someone that is interested in studying engineering. What would be some tips to talk about, if you're interested in Purdue? Can you talk a little bit about why research, why touring colleges and universities, how that can really help you in the review process?
Yeah. So it is so important to research these schools and decide more than just rankings, because I know that's a pretty popular question, is, what is this school offer? Purdue is a fantastic engineering school. And one of the cool things that I found out there was, the way that they have structured their engineering program. And so all students come in as an engineering major. Your biochem, your aerospace, mechanical, industrial, everybody's together for that first year, kind of experiencing those broad range classes, that high level math, before they kind of go into that specialty, which I thought was really cool, building that culture of collaboration. The other thing that I thought was fantastic was that they have free maker spaces. So Purdue University, walking around their campus, kind of feeling the energy that they have, it is a creator's dream. They have a ton of little labs where students can build products. They can invent, they can create, and it's all free. Which parents, we love that word, right? Because in college, not many things are free, but students can create. A lot of kiddos, when we were there, were building hoverboards or different scooters. that they can use to navigate throughout campus. Cool fun fact, if you invent something and use Purdue products, that patent is yours. They will help you with the patent. Purdue will have nothing to do with it. So they are really kind of creators of that innovation. And if I didn't go and visit, if I didn't talk and ask questions, I don't think I would have got that information. But it's so cool to have it and then to be able to reference it when you're writing those short answer questions, because it demonstrates the interest to that school and really shows them, hey, I really want to go there. And so not saying that you have to fly all over the country. COVID taught us that virtual information sessions are very popular and that can be attended. Y'all are here listening to us, so virtual does work. And so those resources are available, but Purdue is definitely cool. And I'm not nearly the expert because John went there. I just went for a weekend.
That's true. That's true. So something that I want to point out, if you noticed how Anne answered that question about Purdue, it's much better than saying, well, I want to be a Boiler because it's a good school, highly ranked, very competitive, and go Boilers. This is talking about really speaking to the person, the actual human being that's reading your application is an admissions officer. They're looking for your sincere interest in the school. Are you applying because you're a super fan? Or are you applying because you want to be part of the makerspace? You want to be part of the technology? Maybe they're working on something related to AI that is an area of specific interest you want to go into, and no other college or university has that. So start researching colleges early. We actually recommend writing prep. We start early because the writing is the hardest part of this process. And we start doing essay prep with our juniors in March. March of the junior year is when we start discussing topics like the main essay, introducing the activity list, discussing the differences between the rank and order for your activity list and your expanded resume. Our timeline is this. If you start working on the writing in March, it's possible that by July the 1st, here we go, by July the 1st, you can have your main essay done, your activity list done, your expanded resume done. You can have your profile created for the common application, and you can also have your courses and grades completed for the SAR. You can self-report your academic record for a lot of colleges. All of that can be done by July the 1st. You don't have to wait for your college admission applications to go live. And then the month of July, you can do prep work on the SAQs that are starting to leak out of colleges and universities. July is typically the month that Chapel Hill, UVA, UT, A&M, just to name a few, start confirming what their prompts are going to be. Get everything done and out of the way so that the month of July, you can start focusing on those big name colleges. Your applications are going to go live on August the 1st. Can you believe it? You're almost done by then if you follow our timeline. It's possible to have all of your college admission applications submitted by September the 1st. You can go into your senior year and have everything completed for your college admission application, which is a good place to be if you're applying to schools that have rolling admissions. There's a lot of colleges that have rolling admissions, and that means they read applications as they come in, and you can really bend the statistical odds in your favor of getting admitted. I'm showing you the front page of our website. If you click on free events up here in the top right corner, you can scroll down and you can see the events that we have coming up. And John just mentioned this weekend, we have a college and coffee conversation happening. So this Saturday, 8:30 to 9:30, parents and teens, come on out. We're just talking about all things college admissions in person, totally free. We also are going to be presenting later that day on applying to the University of Texas and Texas A&M at 10:30 a.m. at the Laura Bush Library. These are in-person free events. Now, if you can't do those in-person events, it's all good. Next Thursday, we'll be presenting on applying to the University of Texas. That's a webinar. And maybe this is all a little bit too much for you. We need to go back to the basics and start at square one. Well, College Planning 101 is a great webinar to participate in. That's going to be on Tuesday, November the 28th at 6:30, or I'm sorry, at 6 p.m., and that's a webinar. So definitely check out our free webinar series. We actually have the newest webinar coming up at the beginning of the year, applying to Texas A&M. We'll go over that application process as well. But we have free in-person and webinar events. Now, if you are interested in learning more about our services, you can definitely go online and schedule a 30-minute discovery call. That'll be with me. And this is when we'll go over our pricing and our packages. So you can go online, 30 minutes, and we'll go over our pricing and our packages. But just to kind of put things into perspective, just so how everybody kind of has an idea of how things work, with us, we are college consultants. We are project managers. Mom and dad, you would outsource all of this over to us. We would create the curriculum. We would create the guidelines. We would actually work with your teenager on career exploration, activity building, creating that balanced college list. Test prep is included in our packages. Our scholars get an unlimited access to us as well. We just launched another poll as well. If you're interested in learning about being on our winning team, then you can say yes. And then our enrollment manager, her name is Barbie, will reach out to you to schedule that free 30-minute consultation. But as a college coach, one of the questions I always get is, when is the right time to start prep? Well, you're going to get a different answer based off who you asked. Most college consultants start working with teenagers junior year. In fact, the junior year is the year of formal college planning. But our scholars are applying to colleges that have holistic reviews. We're a STEM specialty agency, so the playing field is not going to be level. Our scholars are applying to competitive majors, and everything is picked and pulled apart with that freshman year. So we start working with incoming freshmen. We don't meet with them very much, but we do the basics. Career exploration. What kind of computer science do you want to go into? AI, cybersecurity, firmware, software engineering, business. What kind of business do you want to go into? Then we move into activity building. How can we really demonstrate that in your through your clubs and organizations? We do a lot of test prep as well, test prep being included. And we also do summer prep, and we do essay prep and college list building. So we do recommend starting sooner than later so that you're not having to make a lot of big decisions in a short amount of time. So again, I wanted to remind everybody that the poll has been launched. For everyone, if you are interested in learning more about being on our winning team, definitely let us know. Don't forget to schedule your free 30-minute discovery call as well if you are interested in doing that. And then attending one of our free events, whether it's in person or whether it's a webinar, we would definitely love to have you come out and meet you. And John, anything that you guys would like to say before we wrap it up?
Nothing new, but just want to thank everyone for coming out. It's always a pleasure to get a chance to present. So I appreciate having y'all, and thanks once again.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. This was fun. I like STEM. I think so many kiddos are interested in it. I think it's so amazing. So thanks so much. Great time.
John just got back, by the way, from presenting at Purdue. Tell us, what were you presenting on, and tell us a fun memory of going there, by the way.
Okay, fun memory of what the presentation was. I presented on self-awareness. It was a leadership series presentation, and the best part about that whole experience was actually having students come up to me after the fact. I had one student tell me specifically, he said he had never been in such an open environment like that in a group discussion ever. So that was the coolest thing about that. It was pretty remarkable. It was awesome.
Awesome. I love it. Well, hey, folks, definitely make sure that you click on the links in the chat box, save those resources. This is a lot of really great insight. And then if you're watching the recording, we do look forward to helping you prepare, apply, and achieve in the future. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.